Good evening and welcome back to the public portion, the regular council meeting for Wednesday, June 18th, 2025. We're reconvening at 8:50 p.m. And we now move to item 6, public hearing, 6.1, bylaw number 25-13, municipal development plan, amendment number 1, municipal-wide promoting non-residential tax assessment-based growth, which is on page 198. The purpose of, the public hearing for bylaw number 25-13 is in session at 8:51 p.m. This public hearing is held pursuant to the Municipal Government Act, RSA 2000, Chapter M-26, and amendments thereto. Legislative Services.
Thank you, Worshiping Council. As you said, the purpose of the public hearing is to discuss bylaw 2513, bylaw to amend bylaw number 1403. Being a bylaw to amend the municipal development plan. First reading of this bylaw was given on May 21st, 2025. Public hearing was advertised in the following ways. May 23rd, 2025, notice of the public hearing was posted on the town's website. May 28th and June 11th and June 18th, 2025, notice of the public hearing was posted in the Strathmore Times. And a notice of the public hearing was included in the June 2025 utility newsletter. There are no written submissions received to date.
Thank you. Pursuant to the Town's Council Procedure Bylaw, the following rules of conduct shall be followed during the public hearing to ensure procedural fairness. No person shall address council without the permission of the mayor. No person shall speak more than once or for more than 5 minutes, exclusive of the time required to answer questions from council. All discussion must be related to the proposed amendments contained in bylaw number 25-13. No other matters will be discussed at this time. Respect for staff, council, and the public shall always be maintained, and any person who wishes to address council, please state and spell your name. A reminder, this is the public's time to provide feedback to council related to this bylaw amendment. Council is not required to answer questions from the gallery. Council may ask questions of the speakers after each presentation for clarification purposes, and there will be no debating the bylaw. Would administration like to present? Mr. Ferguson, welcome back.
Thank you. Good evening again, Mayor and Councillors. So bylaw 25-13 that's before you this evening proposes an amendment to the Strathmore's Municipal Development Plan that would put 2 new policies in the MDP that together seek to foster a more balanced residential to non-residential tax assessment ratio in the town. In terms of some background, the staff report outlines that the proposed amendment aligns with 3 of the town's strategic priorities, being affordable housing, economic development, and financial sustainability. More specifically, the town's 2024 Q3 corporate quarterly report carried over support from previous quarterly reports for establishing a residential to non-residential tax assessment ratio target. While the town's MDP has made progress on this, we are able to bring forward this amendment now under the current MDP, and with this in mind, the amendment has also been constructed in a manner that it can be carried forward into a future draft MDP. The 2 policies that are proposed would be added to the MDP in a very broad and general sense, aimed to enhance the town's financial sustainability. It would reduce reliance on residential property assessments. Some spin-off spin-off benefits, for example, would include stimulating local economic development through job creation and investment that comes along with non-residential development. The core of the amendment itself is twofold. The first is a policy added to encourage new development within new or existing area structure plans to strive for a 60-40 residential to non-residential assessment ratio. And the second is a policy added to ultimately target an overall municipal-wide ratio of 70-30. So to conclude, bylaw 2513 would enact Municipal Development Plan Amendment number 1, which represents a strategic and proactive step for the town in terms of achieving greater financial stability and economic resilience by deliberately encouraging non-residential growth and aiming for a more balanced tax assessment ratio. Thank you.
Thank you. We will proceed with our list of registered speakers. I believe we have no
I have a-
registered
I have a
speakers.
question
Oh, you
for
have a question, Councillor Wiley?
Sorry, I have a question for administration. Okay, I'm just going to put this in layman's terms. So I hear our goal is for new ASPs to have a 60-40 residential, non-residential property. That's correct?
That is correct.
Okay, and that then to me means 40% of the tax assessment would come from non-residential tax base. Am I oversimplifying?
No, I don't think you are.
Okay, so then here's my question. Does this policy then go, is it possible that this policy is going too far and it might set an expectation that every new neighborhood would include large commercial and industrial sections? Is it suggesting then that every new neighborhood would have 40% commercial or light industrial sections?
Thank you for the question, Councillor. It is a good question. I think it's important when we look at the amendment itself, the wording there is should promote. So we will work with developers, builders to strive for that type of a mix in terms of development. But that policy didn't go as far in terms of wording as saying like shall ensure or must. It's deliberate in its wording should promote. So we work with developers and builders to strive for that.
So the administration's overall vision of this town, though, would be ideally 40% of new ASPs would include commercial or industrial, non-residential tax base.
That would be the ratio, 60-40 for new and existing area structure plans, but also overall townwide, it would be 70-30.
Right. The overall goal is townwide 70-30, but new ASPs would have 60-40.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wiley. Deputy Mayor Mitzner.
So the residential 40% though is more going to be commercial or commercial mix with retail. It's not going to be industrial.
So, sorry, Councillor.
Like you're going to put an industrial area with a buffer zone right beside a residential area?
No, not
That's not part of the 40%.
No, not necessarily. So the example I might give in an area structure plan scenario might be you would have 60% or 60% would be residential assessment, and the other 40 would be, for example, like a local commercial node might contribute towards that 40. I'm not entirely sure about mixed use development, but I mean there would be non-residential components to that as well. But I don't think that policy, that policy is not intended to mean that you would have residential single detached homes beside an industrial building to sort of jack up that 40%.
Councillor Montgomery.
Thank you. So we're not talking about, obviously, we're not talking about area, like, you know, within a certain area. We're not talking about 40% of the area being, we're talking about assessment value being 40% expected to be commercial, et cetera, or non-residential?
So that it is a good question. I think in terms of land use, so we're talking, the policy is speaking to assessment. So how a property is assessed, not necessarily sort of like the pure land use. Like you can have.
So I think I understand here. So basically, like, it's like, you know, when the whole thing's looked at, you know, and you kind of look at the total assessment of residential versus the total assessment value of the non-residential, we want it to be a 60-40 split, essentially.
That's correct. That's the aim.
Jamie, would you like to weigh in?
Sure, just perhaps if I could clarify through the chair, a couple of points, and then Mr. Ferguson spoke to it earlier. The language of the amendment is promote as well, is promote that split in new areas. But the other thing to keep in mind, the flexibility for development is in the town, we have limited opportunities of where that type of land use might want to locate, right? A developer who comes forward in a certain quarter section, we need to be realistic about where that type of land use could occur, right? So over time, we want to be at 70-30. We're going to promote non-residential where I think it makes sense. So this policy just gives us the ability to push developers a little harder on that element. And CA Escobar may want to add as well.
Well, perhaps an example. So say a developer has 3/4 of land, right? And they want to do so say if they do 2/4 residential, 1/4 commercial. So you've got pure residential, pure commercial. But, with the higher assessment of the non-commercial, you would think it's a 2-to-1 is what I'm saying in straight land, but it might come out pretty close to that 60/40 because of the mill rate on the commercial, right? So again, it's about looking at parcels of land with transitions where appropriate, but, like I said, if somebody's got 3/4, maybe the discussion is 2/4 residential, 1/4 entirely commercial, right? So, and that would probably be pretty close to the ratio that's being proposed.
Okay. Yeah, because I mean, it seems to me that like, if you get something that's quite, a really valuable piece of non-residential, like whatever that, business is or something like that, it could, justify. Okay, thank you.
Deputy Mayor Mitzner.
I have a administration question. So are policies referenced in the bylaw? Or policy is a separate document and a bylaw is a separate document?
So, to you, Councillor, the bylaw itself will amend the municipal development plan and insert those two policies into the plan document. So if the bylaw was approved, staff would amend the MDP document itself and insert those. So the bylaw kind of gives instruction to what would happen inside the
So the
municipal development
policy is part of the bylaw now?
plan. It is included in the bylaw, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Correct.
Councillor Wiley.
So what I'm hearing administration say is it actually gives you greater maybe power and flexibility to work with developers and encourage them to have a higher percentage of non-residential tax base, come up with creative ways to do it. It's really empowering you to do that then?
Yeah, to some degree, yes, Councillor.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Ferguson? Thank you. And Jonathan, just to circle back, there are no registered speakers tonight. Is there anyone else present who wishes to speak to bylaw number 25-13? Administration, would you like to make any closing comments?
No closing comments.
Thank you. Are there any other questions of clarification from council? Seeing none, I will close this public, Councillor Wegener. Oh, seeing none, I will close this public hearing for bylaw number 25-13, being a bylaw to amend bylaw number 14-03, being the Town of Strathmore's Municipal Development Plan at 9:03 p.m. And now we are in the public portion of the meeting, and we are on item 7, bylaws. Bylaw number 25-13, Municipal Development Plan Amendment number 1, municipal-wide, promoting non-residential tax assessment base growth. Did administration want to speak at the start?
I actually do have a question for them.
Okay, we have a question for
I thought of another one.
Mr. Ferguson, and then you can make a statement too.
Good evening. And so my understanding is, always with our administration, they've been very good about learning information from things we've passed and always a willingness to sort of reopen things. But my understanding is in the very, very near future, we're going to be doing a municipal development plan, this huge job. So at that point too, we would have an opportunity to reassess, was this a good goal? Did this give you the flexibility to need? Did it actually put constraints on us that's changing the character of our neighborhoods? So my understanding is this is going to be coming up again before a future council within the next year in all probability.
Yes, thank you for the question. Through your mayor to the councillor, absolutely. So one of the benefits perhaps of doing this now as opposed to in a draft MVP situation is there'll be a chance to sort of test drive the policy. Absolutely.
Thank you. Did you want to make a final statement?
Nothing further, Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Peterson and Councillor Wegener.
If Councillor Wagner has a question, I was just ready with the motion. I was too. Oh, go ahead, Councillor.
I move that council give second reading to bylaw number 25-13, being a bylaw to amend the Town of Strathmore's municipal development plan.
Thank you. And now that we have a motion for second reading to bylaw number 25-13, is there any discussion on that motion? Councillor Peterson?
Your Worship, I'm really in favor of this because it is something that will really assist us in promoting the long-term economic stability of the town. And for as long as I've lived in Strathmore, and probably for as long as Strathmore has existed, the residential tax base has borne the majority of the burden in terms of our growth, our sustainability, the services that we've had to provide. So being able to implement this change and bringing us hopefully from an 80-20 split in residential to non-residential to eventually a 70-30 is something that will create great opportunities in terms of long-term economic stability, and it will offer predictability as well to future development in the community. So I'm very, very much in favor of this motion.
Thank you. Councillor Wiley?
Yeah, I mean, I certainly support the intent for us to grow our non-residential tax base. I'm definitely hesitant, though, because I'm picturing neighborhoods coming in with large commercial sections that could fundamentally change the makeup of this town. I think I'm going to go ahead and support it for the reasons I've outlined tonight, which is it could be changed. But also, I know there's a lot of development that can occur in the very near future, likely more ASPs coming our way. And I would really like my administration to have the flexibility and enable them to be as forceful with the ASPs to try and get this 70-30 tax ratio that we want. And so I'm a little nervous, I'm a little hesitant, but I'm hearing what they're saying, and I will be supporting it.
Councillor Peterson?
This is a question probably for Jamie, and I don't know, if it goes along with looking at balancing our non-residential and residential taxes, but I know that in some of the very large cities, particularly, well, even in central and eastern Canada and northeastern United States, they tend to use tax increment financing. Would we ever look at something like that in terms of moving into this? If it's a question for another day, I accept that. But to me, it seems to sort of provide a safety net or a supportive structure under what we're trying to do now.
Through the chair, I think it has been used in a couple of communities, I believe. I think Cochrane's actually using it. Calgary's used it. But I think we would use it more in a redevelopment context to support redevelopment or encourage and incentivize redevelopment. But we can consider that as part of the new MDP conversations.
The reason, I didn't realize it was in Cochrane at all, but so the reason I'm asking the question, just for the sake of the public and council, is if we boom, with this, in the next 5 years, 4 to 5 years, we all of a sudden have this big adjustment that whoever is sitting here will have to deal with. Utilizing something like that might lend itself to what we're trying to establish in the MDP now.
Yeah, through the chair, you could, we have, we're a certain scale. We're not the biggest town, but it would allow us to perhaps get more non-residential assessment in existing areas, and it might incentivize that. So it's a tool we could examine.
Thank you. When I first got on council, it was explained to me by a veteran councillor that the town of Strathmore had intentionally planned to ensure that the non-residential was lower, quite a bit lower than the residential, as a means of attracting industry. And I don't know if that was all that successful. I know we've struggled in the last 15 years to attract major industry. So I will be supporting this. I think it's an initiative that can go a long way to try to improve the tax assessment base. And we're actually in a situation that's opposite to the City of Calgary. The City of Calgary is heavier taxed on its commercial, and now they're trying to play catch up with their residents. And that's really painful for people in tough economic times who are struggling to afford homes and things. So I will be supporting this motion. Are there any further comments? Then I'll call the question. All in favor? And that motion is carried. Councillor Peterson.
I'd move that council give third and final reading to bylaw number 25-13, being a bylaw to amend the Town of Strathmore Municipal Development Plan.
Thank you for the motion. All in favor? And that motion is carried. We move now to item 8, public comments. I don't believe we have anyone registered for public comments tonight. And we have no delegations tonight, so we move to item 10, consent agenda. Are there any items on the proposed consent agenda that any councillors might like removed and discussed separately? And if not, I'm looking for a motion. Councillor Wiley.
The council adopt the recommendations of the following agenda reports by an omnibus motion. 11.1, regular council meeting. 12.1, budget amendment, Township Road 240. 14.2.1, WHMB signed minutes. 15.1, thank you from Athabasca regarding Highway 831.
Thank you for the motion. Any discussion on that? Then I'll call the question. All in favor? And that motion is carried. So we move now to 13 bylaws. 13.1, Water Utility Bylaw, amending bylaw number 25-18, bulk water. Good evening, Ethan.
Good evening, Your Worship and Council. I bring forward tonight bylaw number 25-18, which is an amendment to our water utility bylaw. This is simply related to bulk water purchases and the protection of our municipal water supply during the purchase of bulk water. We've had a couple of, I'll call them close calls or minor incidents in the recent past in which we weren't at risk of harm. However, it was enough to entice us to update the bylaw to ensure that we were fully protected, to ensure that there were measures in terms of penalties if appropriate, and to make it very clear on what the expectations are for anybody purchasing bulk water. So I think the bylaw is fairly straightforward, but happy to take questions if there are any. Thank you.
Thank you, Ethan. Any questions for Ethan on this? I have Councillor Wiley, then Councillor Montgomery.
Just a motion.
Yeah, just ready with
Okay.
the motion.
Thank you.
That council provide first reading to bylaw 2518, being a water utility bylaw amending bylaw, and I do have a comment.
Okay.
Nope, never mind. It was for the wrong thing. So just
All
the
right.
motion.
We have a motion for first reading to bylaw number 25-18. I'll call the question. All in favor? That motion is carried. Councillor Montgomery.
Thank you. I will move that council council give second reading, provide second reading to bylaw number 25-18, being the water utility amending bylaw.
Thank you. Now that we do have a motion for second reading, is there discussion on that motion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? And that motion is carried.
I will move that council give unanimous consent for a third and final reading to bylaw 25-18, being the water utility amending bylaw.
Thank you for the motion. All in favor? Motion is carried. Councillor Wegener.
I move that council provide third reading to bylaw 25-18, being the water utility bylaw, amending bylaw.
Thank you. All in favor? And that motion is also carried. We move now to item 13.2, Council Code of Conduct Bylaw, repealing bylaw number 25-19. And this is on page 233. Claudette, are you speaking to this?
Thank you, Your Worship. Yes, I am. Good evening, Your Worship and Council. On May the 15th, a ministerial order was received to rescind codes of conduct for elected officials. And a repealing bylaw must be adopted in order to appeal the original Town of Strathmore bylaw. Before you tonight is a repealing bylaw, and it's more for our records, for processing and to make sure that all our loose ends are tied.
Thank you, Claudette. Any questions for Claudette? Councillor Wiley?
Sorry, just ready with the motion.
Okay, thank you.
Never mind, not ready with the motion.
Deputy Mayor Mitzner?
I move that council give first reading to bylaw number 25-19, being a bylaw to repeal Council Code of Conduct Bylaw Number 19-08 and Council Code of Conduct Bylaw amending Bylaw 20-13.
Thank you. There is a motion for first reading on the table. All in favor? That motion is carried. Councillor Wiley?
I am ready this time. The council gives second reading to bylaw 2519, being a bylaw to repeal Council Code of Conduct Bylaw 1908 and Council Code of Conduct Bylaw amending Bylaw 20-13. And I do have a comment I meant to say earlier.
Okay.
The province has already repealed this, so it's just basically paperwork on our end. I do support the appeal of a council code of conduct because I believe elected officials should answer to the public and not through a process that could be seen as being misused or be misused to discourage healthy debate. I really do believe that democracy works best with robust debate without any fear of reprisal.
Thank you. My comments before the vote on second reading is I do sincerely hope that the province will be successful in this approach to the code of conduct. I know it can be difficult when situations arise on a council to have to discipline itself. I've been through different situations. I think several of us have, and it can also be very, very damaging to a council as you try to move forward. But I do hope that the province will be able to be successful in handling situations where there are concerns from various municipalities. Any other comments? I'll call the question. All in favor? That motion is carried. Councillor Wiley.
Sure, I'll go for it. The council give unanimous consent for third and final reading to bylaw number 2519, being a bylaw to repeal Council Code of Conduct Bylaw number 1908 and Council Code of Conduct Bylaw amending Bylaw 2013.
And thank you for that motion. All in favor? That motion is carried. Councillor Wegener.
I move the council give third reading to bylaw number 25-19, being a bylaw to repeal Council Code of Conduct Bylaw number 19-08 and Council Code of Conduct Bylaw amending Bylaw 20-13.
Thank you. All in favor? That motion is carried. We move now to item 14, councillor information and inquiries. 14.1, questions between councillors and councillor statements. Councillor Montgomery.
Yeah, just give me 1 second here, please. I learn how to type. Okay, so I will move that council suspend section 31.4 of council procedure bylaw number 23-17 to allow council to authorize the CAO to approve the installation of a disabled street parking application, and that council authorize the town CAO to permit a disabled parking sign to be installed at 369 Strathford Crescent.
Thank you. And did you want to speak to that?
Just that this is an instance where it's in the best interests of the involved parties that council act swiftly, and we will be following this up with other actions to put this into bylaw. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Peterson.
I just want to say that it's really good to see that council can be responsive in situations where it's needed, and that we're able to have a leadership team that is willing to mitigate difficult circumstances. And I want to thank Councillor Montgomery for bringing the motion forward. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you to Councillor Montgomery. Any other comments? And I'll call the question. All in favor? That motion is carried. Jonathan, did we motion?
The motion was made.
Okay, so it's been done.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments or council statements, questions between councillors? Seeing none, we move to item 14.3, question and answer period. Any questions or answers for administration? 14.4, no administrative inquiries. No notices of motion. So we move now to, we'll need a motion to go in camera to finish the items that we didn't get done. So we need a motion to go in camera, correct? You just need a motion to go in camera, correct? Back in camera? Councillor Wagoner.
I move that council go back in camera at 9:21 PM.
Thank you. All in favor? And that motion is carried. We are now going in camera. Thank you to the public who may be watching at home.